Ethan had always dreamed of exploring space, but nothing had prepared him for the feeling of standing on an alien planet with a sky that shimmered in colors he had no names for. The ground beneath his boots was soft, almost sponge-like, yet firm enough to support his weight. Strange plants swayed gently in a wind he could barely feel, their translucent leaves catching the alien sunlight like colored glass. He was part of a small human research team sent to this distant planet to set up a new communication station. The mission was simple on paper: establish contact arrays, record environmental data, and monitor for any native life forms. But as Ethan walked through the alien landscape, he realized just how little humans truly knew about this world. Every shadow seemed to move differently, every sound carried a strange rhythm, almost like the planet itself was breathing. Ethan paused near a cluster of luminescent flowers, bending down to examine their delicate structures. He could feel the soft pulse of energy coming from them, a faint vibration that seemed to tickle his fingertips. Suddenly, he froze. "Hello, human." Ethan's heart jumped. He spun around, eyes wide, scanning the area. No one was there. He knew he was alone, at least. That was what he thought. "Who's there?" he called, his voice trembling slightly. "I am here," came the voice again, but this time it was inside his head. Not spoken aloud, but clear and distinct, as if someone had tapped directly into his mind. Ethan stumbled back, almost losing his balance. His heart raced, and a million questions flooded his mind. Was it a hallucination? A trick of the atmosphere? Or something far stranger? I can hear you," he stammered aloud, though his words felt strange in this quiet, alien place. "No," the voice corrected, lightly, almost playfully. "I can hear you." Ethan's jaw dropped. He stepped back further, tripping over a root that wasn't there a moment ago. "You, what?" "I can read your thoughts," the voice said calmly. "Everything, even the small, silly ones." Ethan felt a mix of fear and disbelief. "Who or what are you?" he whispered. There was a soft giggle, melodic and bright. "I am Lyra," the voice replied, and then she added, almost teasingly, "and you're thinking something funny right now. Don't try to hide it." Ethan froze. How could she know what he was thinking? He had barely processed it himself. And now this alien, if she was indeed an alien, was reading his mind like an open book. And he hadn't even done anything remarkable yet. He clenched his fists, trying to focus, trying to think of nothing important. But the harder he tried, the more he felt exposed. Lyra laughed again. And this time the sound wasn't just in his mind. A soft, musical laugh carried on the alien wind, echoing slightly among the glowing plants. Ethan's face burned hot with embarrassment. He had thought of something completely private. A silly daydream about accidentally walking into the station's storage room, wearing nothing but a towel. And she had known instantly. You read that?" he asked, voice shaking. "I did," she said cheerfully, her laugh softening. "It's amusing, really. Humans are very interesting." Ethan swallowed hard. He wanted to run, but every instinct in his body seemed to hesitate. Curiosity battled fear inside him. The rational part of his mind told him to retreat, to return to the safety of the research station. But another part, the part that had always dreamed of meeting something truly alien, wanted to see her. Where are you?" he asked cautiously. "I am near," she replied simply. "Do you see the light over there?" She pointed not with her hands, but with an unseen gesture that somehow moved his eyes toward a shimmer behind a grove of trees. There, partially hidden among the glowing foliage, stood a figure. At first, Ethan thought it was a trick of the light. The figure was small, delicate, almost fragile. Yet she radiated a presence he could feel in his chest. Lyra stepped forward, or perhaps Ethan felt her presence move closer. It was hard to tell. Her skin shimmered faintly, reflecting the alien light, and her eyes glowed with a soft, curious blue. She had no clothes as humans knew them, but her form was elegant and natural, not threatening. She tilted her head, studying him with an expression that was equal parts amusement and genuine interest. I don't understand," Ethan admitted. "How are you doing this?" Lyra smiled, and it sent a shiver down his spine. "It is how I am," she said simply. "I can hear your thoughts. I can see your feelings, and yes, I laugh when you think things that make you uncomfortable. But it is not to hurt you. Humans are funny creatures. Ethan's embarrassment deepened, but so did his fascination. No human had ever spoken to him like this, and no human could ever understand what it felt like to have someone see your mind so clearly. He felt raw, exposed, but in a strange way. Safe, okay? I guess that's impressive, he said, still uncertain how to respond. Lyra tilted her head again, and her glowing eyes seemed to pierce through him. Impressive? She repeated, her voice lilting like a melody. It is normal for me. But you, human, are interesting. Your mind is entertaining. She giggled again, lightly, almost like a bell ringing in the wind. Ethan could feel his face warming. Entertaining? That's not really what I meant. Perhaps, Lyra said, tilting her head thoughtfully. But it is true. Your thoughts are curious. Sometimes predictable. Sometimes messy. I like it. Ethan blinked. He wasn't sure whether to laugh, be embarrassed, or stay completely silent. Finally, he opted for caution. Do you always do this? Lyra stepped fully into view now. She moved gracefully, without making a sound, her bare feet barely touching the ground. Her long, shimmering hair flowed as if underwater, catching every color of the alien sky. Do what? She asked innocently. Read minds, laugh at things humans think, he said awkwardly. Lyra laughed again. Only when it is amusing. And you, human, you are very amusing. Ethan groaned, sinking to the ground on a nearby rock. He buried his face in his hands, muttering to himself. I can't believe this is happening. Lyra crouched in front of him, tilting her head in curiosity. Why not? Because nobody can do this, he said, raising his hands. I mean, I've read books. I've seen movies about mind-reading aliens. But this is real. And now you know it is real, Lyra said softly. But do not worry. I will not harm you. I am curious about humans, yes, but I am not cruel. I like to learn. Ethan peeked through his fingers, meeting her glowing eyes. There was something almost childlike about her expression. Yet underneath it lay an intelligence far beyond human understanding. She wasn't a predator, and yet she held all the power in this encounter. All right, he said finally, lifting his head. If you're not going to hurt me, maybe we can. I don't know, talk. Lyra's smile widened, her eyes twinkling. Talk, yes, I like that idea. But remember, human, I will know your thoughts. You cannot hide them from me. Ethan laughed nervously, shaking his head. Great my embarrassing thoughts. All of them exposed, and all of them are fascinating, she said, with a bright giggle. Despite his embarrassment, Ethan felt a strange sense of relief. There was honesty in Lyra's words that he had never encountered before. No pretending, no hiding, just pure curiosity and intelligence mixed with playful humor. He realized that this encounter, though awkward and a little terrifying, was the beginning of something extraordinary. For the first time, he felt the weight of loneliness in space lift slightly. He was not alone. Not truly. Lyra reached out, not touching him, but somehow he felt the gesture in his mind, a warm, tingling sensation. Come, she said. There is much to see, and I would like to know more. Ethan hesitated, then nodded. Okay. Lead the way. As they moved together through the glowing forest, Ethan felt a strange mix of fear, excitement, and curiosity. He had no idea what lay ahead, but one thing was certain: his life, and perhaps the understanding of humanity itself, was about to change forever, and somewhere in the back of his mind, he knew he would never forget the laughter that first welcomed him. The next morning, Ethan awoke in the small human research station, the alien sky outside now soft, glowing pink. The events of the previous day played over and over in his mind. Lyra's glowing eyes, the way she had read his thoughts, and that musical laughter that had pierced straight through his embarrassment. He shook his head, trying to clear his thoughts, but a small smile tugged at his lips. He could not deny it. He wanted to see her again. When he stepped outside, he saw her almost immediately. Lyra hovered near the edge of the forest, her body catching the morning light. She was examining a cluster of floating, translucent orbs that drifted lazily in the wind, each one shimmering with soft colors. Her gaze shifted toward him, and before he could say a word, he felt the familiar echo of her voice inside his mind. "Good morning, human." "You think I slept?" she asked playfully. Ethan laughed, stepping closer. I guess not. Are you always awake?" "Always," Lyra said simply. "Time is different for me. I notice things you cannot. I watch, I listen, and I laugh when your thoughts are." "Amusing." Ethan winced, remembering the embarrassing things she had already seen. "You're not going to, tease me all the time, are you?" Lyra tilted her head, her glowing eyes sparkling. "Perhaps, but only when it is funny. And your thoughts." "Human, you are very funny," Ethan groaned, rubbing his forehead. "I should have stayed back at the station. Perhaps," she said with a giggle. "But then we would not be here. And I like being here." Despite his initial hesitation, Ethan felt a strange comfort in her presence. She was mischievous, yes, but there was no danger in her laughter, only curiosity. Slowly, he realized that her ability to read minds was not a threat, it was a bridge between them. A way for her to understand him and for him to understand her. Over the next few hours, Ethan showed Lyra around the human station. She observed everything with keen interest, tilting her head and studying objects as if seeing them for the first time. The smallest things fascinated her, the way the human tools clicked into place. The hum of the energy systems, even the way sunlight reflected on metallic surfaces. "What is this?" she asked, touching a small communication panel. "That is part of our comm ray," Ethan explained. "It helps us send signals across space." Lyra hummed thoughtfully, her fingers hovering over the panel. "Interesting. Your mind. It creates these things?" Ethan nodded. "Yes, humans. We like to build, to explore, to understand. That's how we survive." She laughed softly, and Ethan felt the sound inside his mind as well as in the air. "Your thoughts match your actions," she said. "Curious, honest, but sometimes messy." Ethan chuckled nervously. "I guess that's me." As the day went on, Ethan noticed a pattern. Every time he thought something even slightly silly or personal, Lyra would laugh. At first, he found it mortifying. His mind seemed completely open to her, and nothing was private. But gradually, he began to enjoy the exchange. It was different from any human interaction he had ever known. She did not judge him, she simply reacted to the raw honesty of his mind. "You think too much," Lyra teased later, as they sat by a small glowing river of liquid light that ran through the station's perimeter. "You worry about what I see, but it is entertaining. And sometimes endearing." Ethan raised an eyebrow. "Endearing, are you saying you like it?" Lyra giggled. "Perhaps, but humans are strange. I am not sure if I understand all of you yet." Ethan smiled, a warmth spreading through his chest. Somehow, despite the embarrassment, he felt light around her. Her laughter, which had seemed invasive at first, was now a kind of encouragement. She pushed him to be honest with himself, to not hide behind fear or shame. As they explored the station together, Ethan also began to notice Lyra's curiosity about human emotions. She asked questions about sadness, joy, fear, and even humor, often tilting her head as she processed the answers. Ethan tried to explain them simply, using examples from daily life, but he realized that her perspective was completely alien. She did not feel emotions the way humans did. She experienced patterns, vibrations, and connections in ways humans could not. "You laugh at your thoughts," she said suddenly, observing him closely. "But humans also hide thoughts from each other." Why? Ethan hesitated. "Because sometimes thoughts can hurt, or embarrass, or confuse. Humans aren't always ready to share everything." Lyra considered this. "Interesting. But you share some thoughts with me. Why?" Ethan looked down at his hands, unsure how to answer. I guess I trust you, somehow, even though you can read everything. I feel like I can still be myself around you." Lyra tilted her head and smiled. "Curious. Trust is fragile, but I think I understand, and I like that you share with me The conversation was interrupted by a sudden alarm from the station. A small energy surge had disrupted the communication array. Ethan and Lyra rushed to the control panel, working together to stabilize the system. She guided him with precise mental nudges, anticipating his actions before he even acted. Ethan was amazed. Her understanding of human engineering was instinctual, yet incredibly advanced. "You are incredible," he said, wiping sweat from his brow as they worked. Lyra laughed softly. "I am patient, and I learn quickly. You are human, and humans are unpredictable. That makes learning interesting." By the time they finished, Ethan was exhausted but exhilarated. He realized that Lyra's laughter, which had once embarrassed him, was now a source of motivation. She challenged him to think, to react, and to be honest with himself in ways no human could. As they sat by the glowing river again, Ethan asked, "Do you ever get tired of reading minds?" Lyra shook her head. "No, every thought is new. Every mind is a story. Humans, your minds are especially entertaining. I did not tire of them." Ethan laughed softly. "Even mine? Especially yours," she said, her voice melodic. "You are messy, funny, and sometimes clever. I enjoy learning from you." For the first time, Ethan felt truly understood. Not just seen, not just observed, but understood. And in a strange way, that gave him courage. Courage to explore, to experiment, and even to let his mind wander freely without fear of judgment. Over the next few days, Ethan and Lyra continued to explore the station and the surrounding landscape together. She would giggle at his daydreams, tease him gently about small fears, and occasionally guide him with insights he could not have predicted. They found strange rock formations, glowing fungi, and even a small cave that echoed with crystalline tones. Lyra marveled at everything, asking questions and drawing connections that Ethan had never considered. "Humans see only what is useful," she said one afternoon, touching a rock that shimmered with internal light. "But there is beauty everywhere. Patterns you do not notice." Ethan smiled. "We get used to what we know. Maybe you see more because you are different." Lyra nodded. "Yes, and you are curious. That is why I like you, even when your thoughts are funny." Ethan laughed, feeling a warmth in his chest that had nothing to do with the alien sun. Despite the embarrassment, despite the constant exposure of his mind, he felt closer to her than he had to any human in years. By the end of the week, a bond had formed. Ethan trusted her, and she trusted him. And even though she still laughed at his silly or private thoughts, the laughter was no longer a source of shame. It was a shared connection, a playful way of communicating that bridged the gap between species. Ethan realized something important. Lyra had not just entered his mind. She had opened a door in his heart, and for the first time, he was ready to explore not only the mysteries of this alien world, but the strange, wonderful mind of the alien girl who could read his every thought. The morning dawned on the alien planet with a soft golden hue, casting long shadows over the glowing flora. Ethan had barely finished his breakfast in the human station when a sudden alarm blared. Through the control room, red lights flashed, and the hum of the energy systems shifted to a high-pitched whine. Something was wrong. Ethan's heart raced. He raced toward the control panel, and Lyra appeared beside him almost instantly. She had been exploring near the glowing river when she sensed the disturbance. Her glowing blue eyes scanned the monitors, her mind already analyzing the problem before Ethan had fully grasped it. "What happened?" Ethan shouted over the alarm. Lyra's voice echoed in his mind, calm and clear. "Meteor storm, incoming, shields failing." Ethan's eyes widened. "Meteor storm? But how much time do we have?" "Minutes. Enough, if we act quickly," Lyra replied, her tone precise but not panicked. Ethan swallowed hard. He had never faced a situation like this. The station's energy shields were delicate, and a direct hit from even a small meteor could destroy everything. Yet, standing next to him, Lyra exuded confidence that was almost contagious. Somehow, despite the fear clawing at his chest, he felt steadier with her beside him. "All right," he said, taking a deep breath. "Let's fix it." Lyra nodded, and they moved quickly. Ethan worked the control panels, trying to reroute energy to the shields. Lyra guided him with subtle nudges in his mind, directing his hands, highlighting which buttons to press, and alerting him to patterns he could not see. "You're doing fine," she said, reading his thoughts. "But don't rush. Mistakes now could be dangerous." Ethan's hand shook, but her words gave him focus. He realized that Lyra's laughter, which had once embarrassed him, was now replaced with guidance. She could sense his fear, his frustration, even his self-doubt, and she used it not to mock him, but to help him succeed. Minutes felt like hours as they worked together. The meteors drew closer, glowing like fireballs against the alien sky. Ethan's mind raced with calculations, but Lyra's presence calmed him. She communicated not with words, but with understanding, guiding his thoughts toward the solutions he could not have seen alone. "Energy to the left panel now," she instructed, mentally nudging him. Ethan obeyed, rerouting power. A hum of stability ran through the station. One small meteor struck the outer shield, but it held. Ethan felt a surge of relief, though he knew the danger was not over. "Almost there," Lyra said, her voice steady. "We need to reinforce the secondary barriers. I will help." Working side by side, they rerouted power and recalibrated the energy fields. Ethan marveled at Lyra's ability to predict his actions and anticipate problems. He realized that her mind reading was not just a party trick. It was an incredible skill that allowed her to work in perfect synchronization with him. As the last shield activated, another meteor grazed the station. Sparks flew from the outer panels, but the core systems remained intact. Ethan exhaled sharply, leaning against the control console. "We did it," he said, his voice trembling slightly. Lyra smiled, but she did not laugh this time. Instead, she reached out a hand, or perhaps he felt it in his mind, a warm, tingling presence, and Ethan felt reassured. "Yes, together," she said. For the first time, Ethan realized the full extent of their bond. This was no longer about embarrassment or playful teasing. It was about trust. She had read every thought, every fear, and still stood with him. He had shared his mind completely, and she had used that knowledge to save them both. "Thank you," he said quietly. I don't think I could have done this alone." Lyra tilted her head, her glowing eyes soft. "Humans are capable, but you allowed me to help. That is rare. That is important." Ethan nodded, feeling a warmth in his chest. He had faced fear before, but never like this. Never with someone who could see into his mind and understand him so fully. And yet, despite the vulnerability, he felt stronger than ever. After the storm passed, they stepped outside to assess the damage. The alien landscape had been battered, small fires burned among the glowing plants, and some of the floating orbs had shattered, but the station was intact. Ethan felt a swell of pride and relief. "You were amazing," he said, glancing at Lyra. I never imagined anyone could be so in sync with me." Lyra's lips curved in a small smile. "I learned quickly, and you are worthy of being understood. That makes it easier." They walked along the edge of the station, the soft glow of the river reflecting off the damaged terrain. Ethan's mind wandered for a moment, and he realized that the storm had changed something inside him. He no longer felt embarrassed by Lyra's mind reading. Instead, he felt a deep connection, a trust that went beyond words. "Do you ever get scared?" he asked. Lyra considered this. "I do not feel fear as humans do, but I notice it, and I understand it." "You were scared today, yes?" Ethan laughed softly, terrified. "I thought we might not make it." "You did," she said, her voice calm. "And you were brave. Braver than you know. That is admirable." Ethan felt a flush of pride. Her words carried weight because they came from someone who could see his deepest thoughts and still valued him. It was more meaningful than any praise he had ever received. Over the next few days, Ethan and Lyra repaired minor damage to the station together. She continued to read his thoughts, but now there was no teasing, only guidance and encouragement. He began to notice subtle changes in himself. He was more confident, more willing to take risks, and more open to expressing his thoughts. One evening, As they watched the alien sun dip below the horizon, painting the sky in brilliant hues of violet and gold, Ethan turned to Lyra. I think I understand you a little better now. Lyra tilted her head, her glowing eyes curious. Better how? You're playful, yes, and mischievous, he said. But you're also caring. You helped me when I was scared. You guided me. You understand me in ways I never expected. Lyra laughed softly, a sound that made him feel calm. Humans are interesting. You notice patterns, even in what seems random. That is good. That is why I like being with you. Ethan felt a warmth in his chest, realizing that her laughter, which had once embarrassed him, was now a sign of connection. It was her way of showing that she cared, that she respected him, and that she enjoyed being with him. You think everything about me is funny, he said, smiling. Not everything, she said gently, but many things, yes, because you are human, and humans are entertaining, but also admirable. Ethan laughed softly, feeling a sense of peace. He had faced fear, chaos, and the unknown, and he had come through stronger because of her. Lyra's presence had changed him not just in skill or confidence, but in understanding. He was learning to embrace honesty, vulnerability, and trust. That night, Ethan lay in his small quarters, thinking about the day's events. Lyra's words, her laughter, and her guidance replayed in his mind. He realized that their bond was more than just mind reading, it was mutual curiosity, respect, and trust. She had opened his mind, and he had opened his heart for the first time. Ethan felt that he was not alone in the universe. He had a companion, a guide, and a friend who could see his thoughts and still value him. And as he drifted off to sleep, he smiled, knowing that tomorrow would bring new challenges, new discoveries, and new moments of shared laughter with the alien girl who had changed everything. The alien sky shimmered in soft shades of violet and gold as Ethan stepped outside the station. The planet had settled into a calm rhythm after the meteor storm, and the strange flora reflected the golden sunlight in waves of color for the first time in days. The world felt peaceful. Lyra was waiting for him near the glowing river, her luminous blue eyes scanning the environment. She smiled as he approached, a quiet, warm expression that made him feel at ease. For the past week, their bond had deepened through shared challenges, laughter, and trust. And yet, there was still something unspoken between them, a truth Ethan had carried in his mind, one he had been hesitant to share. Ethan began, pausing as he struggled to find the right words. I want to tell you something personal. Lyra tilted her head, her expression curious but patient. You do not need to hide anything, human. I know your thoughts already. Ethan swallowed hard, feeling the familiar flush of embarrassment. Her mind reading had always exposed his smallest secrets, but now he realized that this transparency was a gift, not a curse. I'm thinking about my past, about failures, things I'm ashamed of, things I've never told anyone. Lyra stepped closer, her presence comforting rather than invasive. Human, your mind that carries memories, fears, and hopes. All are part of you. I do not judge. I only understand. Ethan took a deep breath and allowed himself to be completely open. He let the memories flow, the mistakes, the moments of weakness, the times he had doubted himself. Lyra did not laugh this time. She did not tease. She simply listened, in the way that only someone who could truly see into another mind could. You see, Ethan whispered, I've always worried that people wouldn't understand me, that my thoughts, my flaws, would make them turn away. Lyra's glowing eyes softened. I see them, and I do not turn away. Human, you are more than your mistakes. You are resilient, courageous, and worthy of trust. Ethan felt a warmth spread through his chest, a sense of relief he had never known. For the first time, he felt truly understood, not just observed, not just admired for his actions, but deeply and completely understood. He realized that Lyra's laughter, which had once embarrassed him, had been a gentle bridge, teaching him to accept himself and to open up without fear. Thank you, he said softly. I don't know how to explain it, but you make me feel safe, accepted. Lyra smiled, a radiant and calm expression that seemed to illuminate the entire area. You are safe, you are accepted, and you have learned to share without fear. That is rare. That is valuable. For a long moment, they stood together, the soft glow of the alien river reflecting off their forms. Ethan realized that the bond they had built went beyond species, beyond words. It was trust, understanding, and connection, the very essence of friendship. And perhaps something more, Ethan said finally, a small smile forming. I never thought I'd meet anyone like you. Not human, not alien, just someone who really understands me. Lyra's eyes sparkled, her voice gentle. And I never thought I would find a human whose mind is so intriguing, so honest. You are unique. Ethan chuckled softly. Unique, yes. I guess that fits. But so are you? Lyra laughed, lightly this time, her voice like a gentle bell. Perhaps, but I am learning. And learning is enjoyable, especially with you. The next few hours passed quietly, yet they were filled with unspoken communication. Lyra guided Ethan to a part of the station he had not explored, where the alien flora formed a natural amphitheater of glowing plants. She gestured toward, perhaps conveyed through her mind a suggestion to sit together. They watched the alien sky shift and shimmer, the light reflecting in patterns that seemed almost alive. Ethan felt a sense of calm wash over him. He realized that he had never truly shared his mind with anyone, and yet here he was, completely exposed and completely understood. Lyra had laughed at his small, silly thoughts, yes, but she had also accepted his fears, his memories, and his hopes. Her laughter had not been mockery, it had been a way of connecting, a way to make him feel seen. Lyra, he said softly, I think I finally understand why you laugh at me sometimes. Why? She asked, curious, because it's your way of connecting, of saying, I see you. I understand you. Even the things you think are silly or embarrassing, they matter to me. Lyra tilted her head, glowing eyes thoughtful. Yes, that is correct. You understand. That is good. That is why I laugh. Ethan smiled, feeling a deep sense of gratitude. I want to be honest with you from now on. No hiding. No shame. Lyra's smile widened. Then we are truly connected. Human, you have grown. Your mind is open, and your heart is brave. Ethan felt a warmth in his chest, realizing that he had never experienced a connection like this. She had helped him face his own fears and insecurities, and in turn, he had learned to trust completely. It was a rare and precious bond, one that transcended words and species. Lyra, he said finally, do you ever get lonely? She considered this lonely, not as humans do. But I've noticed, I watch, I listen, and now I share. That is better. That is why I'm here with you. Ethan nodded. I'm glad you are. I never expected to find someone like you here, on this planet. Someone who understands me so completely. Lyra's eyes glowed brighter, her voice soft and melodic. And I'm glad to find you. You're honest, brave, and curious. That is rare. That is why I enjoy being near you. They sat together in comfortable silence, watching the alien sunset paint the sky with shifting colors. Ethan felt a sense of peace he had never known, a feeling that all his fears, all his insecurities, had been acknowledged and accepted. Lyra's presence was a constant reminder that he could be honest, vulnerable, and still be valued. As darkness settled over the planet, the glowing floor around them cast soft light, illuminating the alien landscape. Ethan turned to Lyra, a small smile on his face. I think I understand you now, and I think I understand myself better too. Lyra's smile reflected in the light. Understanding is the first step. Acceptance is the next. And you have achieved both. That is remarkable. Ethan laughed softly, feeling lighter than he had in years. So, you'll still laugh at my silly thoughts? Of course, she said, her voice warm. But now, it is shared laughter, a way to connect, not to embarrass, not to judge, only to understand. Ethan felt a profound sense of relief. The fear of exposure, the embarrassment, the uncertainty, all of it had transformed into trust, connection, and friendship. Lyra had opened his mind, and he had opened his heart. Together, they had faced fear, chaos, and the unknown and had emerged stronger, you know? Ethan said softly, "I never thought an alien could teach me so much about being human." Lyra laughed gently, a sound full of warmth. "And I never thought a human could teach me patience, courage, and trust." "You are remarkable, Ethan, truly remarkable." As the stars began to appear in the alien sky, Ethan realized that their journey was only beginning. There would be more discoveries, more challenges, and more moments of laughter and understanding. But now, he knew that he was not alone. He had a companion, a friend, and perhaps something more, a being who could see his mind and his heart and value both completely. Ethan looked at Lyra, her eyes reflecting the starlight, and smiled. "Ready for tomorrow?" Lyra tilted her head, glowing softly. "Always. With you, human always." And together, they watched the alien night unfold, a human and an alien, connected through trust, understanding, and the simple, extraordinary power of shared minds and shared hearts. For Ethan, this was more than adventure, it was discovery, not just of the alien world around him, but of himself, and of the rare and beautiful connection that could exist between two very different beings. And as the night deepened, he knew that nothing, not fear, not embarrassment, not even the vastness of space could change what they had found together.